Welcome to the Vegas Knows podcast. I am Marc Givler. I am joined by Bill Greene. You may know us from our recruiting podcast and from BuckEyeScoop.com. We are going to kind of do a fun weekly podcast. This is normally going to run on Friday mornings, but we're pushing this a little bit early for the debut episode just because there isn't a ton of stuff going on right now in the sports world, but there is some golf tomorrow on a Thursday morning, and Bill's going to touch on that a little bit at the end of the show. But we just kind of wanted to get this out, get this thing rolling, get us on iTunes, and kind of have some fun with this. And we'll kind of let the users and the readers and listeners kind of dictate where this goes and give us some feedback. But just two guys kind of shooting the breeze about the world of sports gambling. I am not an expert. I don't proclaim to be. And so don't go out and, put the mortgage on some picks I may throw out. But, we just like talking about it. And I'm kind of fascinated by lines and line movement and stuff like that. So here we are. We're going to start with some college football futures. Kind of looking at odds to win the national championship this season. Obviously, everyone's excited to get back in the swing of things. Football is right around the corner now. I'm extraordinarily confident we're going to have a full football season at this point. And so it's time to just kind of maybe look at the national championship picture. What are your thoughts on some of the plays out there, Bill?
Yeah, well, national championship, that's a tough one for me because I don't like the odds you're going to get on the teams that I think are logical to win it. I mean, you just never see the sleepers in college football. It just doesn't happen. There have been very few teams that have actually made the playoffs since the playoffs have started. It's not like last year. I took a big flyer, and kind of got made fun of when I was at Bucknuts on the Washington Nationals to win the baseball. At the end of the year, they were my pick to win it all, and they did. And that was like a miracle. You don't see miracles in college football, so. I like Ohio State, and 4-1 is okay. I mean, there's nothing wrong with 4-1. I did put a little chunk on that. The one I like the best play on all that is I like the line on Ohio State to make the playoff. Now, it's minus 150, so if you're trying to win $10, you have to risk 15. If you're trying to win $100, you got to risk 150. So, but I just love – I think it's low enough price that I took a shot at it. And I took a pretty good shot at it too. So, I think Ohio State is almost – to me, I think they're almost a lock to make the playoffs next year. So that was one I liked a lot more than, putting money on someone to win it all. But I did put a little bit on Ohio State at the 4-1, but I love them to make the playoffs at minus 150. So, and I know you had a team that you kind of thought – had an outside shot to win it all as an underdog that would have a nice payoff.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not predicting this is going to happen, but I know there are, probably some listeners out there who, they like to gamble a little bit and they like to maybe throw out a 25-1 or something like that. And I'm looking, and this may not be super popular given our audience, but I'm looking at Oregon there at 25-1. And here's kind of my thought process on that. One, I don't expect the Pac-12 to be very good again. I don't think it's a strong conference. I think Oregon's the best combination of talent and coaching in that conference. And if they can navigate the schedule with just one loss, I think they're probably in the playoffs at that point if they win the Pac-12. I don't think they'll get punished if they lose early to Ohio State. If that game is competitive, I think there will be some mercy shown to them later in the year. If they're sitting there at 12-1, they've lost to Ohio State. It was competitive. They have breaking in a new quarterback, a new offensive line. There's going to be plenty of excuses for them if they're competitive in that game for a loss. And then, of course, if they somehow win that game, they're in amazing shape to make the playoff at that point early in the season. So that one's an interesting one to me. I think maybe a more realistic longer shot. I like Florida at 16-1. I think Florida has a chance to maybe even come out of the SEC, even in a one bid SEC scenario. I think it's possible Florida could be the best team in the SEC this year. They're certainly in the discussion. Another year under Dan Mullen, a lot of talent and experience back. I could see them kind of making it a little bit interesting. But yeah, I mean, the Ohio State bets, it's hard to argue with those at this point, just because it does look like they have such a good path to making the playoff, which is, of course, 80-90% of the battle is just getting yourself into that 14 playoff. So
right.
It'll be interesting. Did you have anything else in terms of like a conference winner or a dark horse, or kind of anything else on college football at this point?
Yeah, what I looked at is I had two teams that I looked at the over-under on regular season wins. And the one that I really liked is, and it's the one you just mentioned, I really like Florida this year. I think Mullen is really good. You got to have the coach. You got to have the quarterback. You got to have experienced guys back. They got all that, okay? Florida returns a lot of guys, and defensively they're really good. I think Trask is going to take a huge leap as a QB. Mullen's, I think, is great. I love Mullen. And then when you look at that schedule, the only road game that could even be remotely problematic is at Tennessee. So they get LSU at home. I don't see LSU being last year's LSU. They get Georgia in a neutral. So, I took them over 9.5. And to lose that, they're going to have to lose 3 times for me to lose that bet. And I don't see how they're going to lose 3 times. I don't think they're going to lose to Tennessee, LSU, and Georgia. So I feel good about that one as an over 9.5. Then I took another one, a team that I think is going to fall short of the win total. And no homerism, no bias, no anything. I think Michigan is going under 9 wins. I don't like the quarterback situation because I have no clue who's going to be starting a quarterback for them. They also lost a ton of guys on both sides of that ball last year. And when you look at that schedule, they got road games at Washington, at Minnesota, at Ohio State. They also go at Michigan State. And I think Michigan State is not going to be very good this year, but that could be a problematic game, just the nature of the rivalry. Then they've got 2 home games that I think could be an issue of Wisconsin and Purdue. So I'm betting Michigan under 9. I need 4 losses out of them to cash that, which, and if it lands on 9, if they go 9-3, you get your money back. So to actually lose the money, Michigan's got to go 10-2. That is not going to happen. There's no way that team's winning 10 games. So Florida over the 9.5, Michigan under the 9. I see them as a 7-5, 8-4 team this year, and feel pretty good about both of those. So that's kind of where I'm at in college football. That's how I see it right now. And then, of course, we'll be making weekly picks every Friday. And, I've had winning year the last 4 years all on either, Bucknuts or at Scout. So I'm due to get crushed this year. But last year I ended up going 48-38 in the plus, not buying helicopters and yachts, but hey, plus is better than minus. So we'll look to make those weekly picks too. But that's kind of where I'm at in college football right now.
Yeah, and I'll kind of wrap up college football with kind of one thing that caught my eye here. As you probably remember, I was a big fan of the Cincinnati over win total last season, which did very well for me. I think that was I think I was comfortable by like the end of October. It was probably one of my better picks I've ever made. I'm looking at them again, and I'm seeing over 8.5 wins at minus 145, and I'm looking at the schedule again. I'm looking at the talent they have, and Fickle's got it rolling, and they've got some key guys back. And, yes, they've got to go at UCF towards the end of the season. And, yes, they go at Nebraska in late September. But I don't think that it's a slam dunk that they lose to Nebraska. I think they can be competitive in that game. And then they get South Florida at home, Memphis at home with a new coach, and they get Houston at home. And so I think, again, 9-3 or 10-2 for Cincinnati seems pretty reasonable to me. And if they somehow steal one at Nebraska or at Central Florida, I mean, that's going to look like almost a lock at that point if they can steal one of those road games. So that's kind of what I saw that kind of caught my attention a little bit. What are we getting into next, Bill? I know you had a couple other things you wanted to talk about.
I looked at NFL this year. I looked at some win totals, some over-unders again, and three of them really popped out to me. And the first one was Baltimore. They've got Baltimore's win total at 11.5, meaning they have to go 12-4 to beat you. There's no way that team's going 12-4. I thought they were a fraud last year. Kind of surprised some people with the Lamar Jackson novelty act, and I think that caught up with them in the playoffs. And I mean, I could see that team going 8-8 this year or 9-7. I just do not see them as a super powerhouse team, and it's hard to win 12 games in the NFL. So definitely taking Baltimore under that total. Another one for me is almost an automatic every year is that whoever loses the Super Bowl, like the next year, they fall flat on their face. It's almost an automatic. Every year we see it. So I'm taking San Francisco under the 10.5, thinking that even if they go 10-6, I'm a winner. And I could see that team dropping off 9-7, 8-8. I don't see, Jimmy Garoppolo is, an all-pro quarterback that's going to drive that team to 11 or 12 wins. I'll take my chances there. The one I like the best, and you and I went over this last year, and I think you called me from Las Vegas, and we talked about Dallas. And I was all in on Dallas last year. And I'm back again, man. I'm back again with Dallas over 9.5. I see them as possibly an 11-win team, 10 for sure. I really like them, and I like the insurance policy of Andy Dalton so that if Dak Prescott gets wiped out in week 1 or 2, they're going to have a legit NFL quarterback to step in. It's not like the Steelers when you put Duck Hodges in or Mason Rudolph and you just can't compete. You don't have a chance. Well, Dallas with Andy Dalton in that backup spot, I think that's great protection there. So those were the three I liked in the NFL in terms of season win totals. I think Baltimore's a fraud. I don't see San Francisco repeating what they did last year. And I think Dallas would be my pick to win the Super Bowl this year. And I definitely think they're going to win more than 9.5 games.
Yeah, Dallas burned me last year, which of course I was happy about as an Eagles fan. That was an emotional hedge there with my Dallas bet. I have to think they're going to be better coached, and just historically they seem to be kind of one of those teams that runs very hot and cold year to year. Where if they're if they have a bad year, usually they kind of come back strong the next year, and if they have a strong year, usually they flop the year after that. So they're kind of a seesaw team. So I could still see that. I'm a little more skeptical this year just because I did get burned last year. But there's they're not going to get the first place schedule because they didn't win the division last year. And I still think, certainly in that division, I still think Washington and the New York Giants are not contenders. So you're getting 3 or 4 wins just there. So I mean, I could see that. I'm, one pick I like, and it's funny because it's going to be a 180 for me from last year. I thought the Browns hype last year was maybe the most absurd thing I'd ever seen in my life in terms of the NFL.
Right.
Hype. None of it made sense to me. The coaching hire didn't make sense to me. There were so many things about that made me think it was delusional to have this team as a playoff caliber team. And so I am doing a 180 here. They are minus 135 over 8.5 wins. And I think they're going to get there. I think somehow, some way, I like the moves they've made this offseason. I think they've fixed some weak areas. Baker Mayfield's kind of the wild card. What Baker Mayfield are we going to see? And that'll probably determine whether that bet wins or not. But I think there's a lot of talent around him. If he just plays average NFL quarterback, they're going to be solid on offense. I think they've improved the defense. I think they had a good draft. There are some things there, and I think the division is vulnerable. I don't expect Cincinnati to be very good. I think Pittsburgh is kind of a wild card team in terms of which direction they could go. I could see Pittsburgh probably anywhere from 6-10 to 10-6, but I just still, even with Roethlisberger back, I'm not sure about that quarterback situation. I don't know that how much he's got left in the tank. I like some of their other pieces, but I don't know that there's a lot of weapons on offense. The offensive line there started to break down a little bit last year, so I don't know if they still have that elite offensive line. And so, you can certainly get Cincinnati this year. You can certainly get Pittsburgh this year. And I do agree with you on Baltimore in terms of I think they take a step back this year. I think people will eventually figure the Lamar Jackson thing out a little bit. He still presents quite a challenge with his legs, but I think they did catch some people off guard, last year, and I could see them regressing a little bit. And so, you're talking about, a division that I don't think's particularly strong. And I think you have a motivated Browns team that's improved their roster, and I could see them going 9-7, 10-6, and hitting that over. I think that's a pretty good bet, but I haven't done a ton of research on my NFL picks yet. I usually try and get out to Vegas before the season starts and maybe throw
right
bets. So I'll do some more research maybe for next week. But I believe you had an NBA.
NBA and then golf. And these are kind of just shot in the dark, throw the dart against the board, bets that if you win them, you're ecstatic, and if you lose, you kind of just laugh. I mean, you don't put money on this stuff that's serious money. These are flyers, and I love, and I don't know if you'll agree or disagree, but in the NBA, I'm looking at the Sixers there, 28-1, and I took a flyer on them at 28-1 to win it all. I mean, I do not believe in the Celtics. I think the Sixers will match up so well with the Celtics. I don't believe in the Bucks. I know they had a great regular season. And then you're looking at Clippers, Lakers. I don't know. I just thought 28-1 on the team with Embiid, Simmons, and those guys. I took the shot there. I know it's your team and all, and I just kind of, what do you think about that?
I mean, I think it's good value. When I look through here at the teams that I think could maybe win the championship, it kind of does stop at the Sixers. I don't, when you start to get down to, Denver at 30-1, Dallas, Utah 40-1, I don't think any of those teams have any chance at all. So I think the Sixers are the best the longest odds among the contenders. So in that sense, yes. And they should be healthier than they've been all season once this gets kicked back up. They had a lot of injury issues they were fighting through there when the shutdown happened. And so you're going to get a healthier version of the Sixers, I think, than what you've probably seen just about all season. So it could be interesting. Do I think they're going to win? No. For whatever reason, I just don't know that they can get by. I'm not even so worried about Boston anymore. Boston had their number for a while. I think they've got that one figured out a little better. I think Milwaukee's a tough one, and who knows, man. It's hard for me to bet against the Lakers with LeBron, but it's a good value play. Yeah, if you're looking to turn a $10 or $20 bet or something like that into a couple $100, that's probably the one I would go.
Right. And then golf starts back tomorrow at 8 a.m. I'm so excited to get live sports. I love golf, and I love their back. And I had another, two more what the heck plays that you bet them. And if you lose them, you laugh because it's not money it's not college fund money. It's just play money. So didn't put a lot on these, but he actually is a wager on who will be the first round leader tomorrow in the Schwab tournament down in Texas. And I took a shot at Jordan Spieth at 50-1. He's won this tournament before. It's his home state. It's not going to be a travel issue with him, not coming from, foreign country or Australia or across the country. He's in his home state. He's had a chance to regroup. He was not playing well before, but, he's got so much talent. I think the no fans thing can really help him because he's a guy that gets unnerved about someone rustling change in their pocket, cameraman clicking the camera. And I think the no fans thing is going to help him. He's on a course that he loves, that he has torn up before, and maybe he shoots 65 tomorrow. And at 50-1, I'm taking a shot at that. And if I lose, I will laugh. He bogeys the first hole, you're out of it, and you just laugh. So, but, if he goes out and shoots 32, 33 on the front, then you got something to really look at the end. And like you say, if you throw $10 on it, win $500, throw $20 on that and win $1,000. Depends on where you're at money-wise. We never want anyone to bet any more money than you can afford to lose. And I've been through that as a young man, and it's no fun when you bet money you don't have and you shouldn't be betting. So this is just for fun. And then the other one I liked was to win the entire tournament. I took a shot at Tony Finau at 40-1. Again, another what the heck play. Tony Finau has played so well on this course. I think his scoring average in his 4 appearances on this course, I think he's 68 or lower. It might be 67.5 or something, or 68. So he owns this course. He's a great player. So those were the 2 things I threw in there for the golf tournament, just because it's going to be on. We've got live sports again. We haven't had anything in a while. So like I said, that was just for fun, and I'll be looking forward to it and just be glad to get going again. And I'm really looking forward to doing this gambling podcast every week. And we just encourage people to have fun with this. This is not where you risk little Jimmy's college fund money. You don't risk your wife's new car money. It's just for fun. And the number that you bet, the amount is different for everybody. And it's just got to be just a fun thing, allocate a certain amount of money for the whole football season. And when it's gone, it's gone. And if you happen to win a little bit, take a withdrawal, take the money out, leave your base in there, go take the wife out to dinner. But it's got to be for fun. It can't be serious that you actually think you're going to win, because it's not going to happen. So you can have a good year here and there, but boy, over the course of time, Vegas knows, right, Mark?
Yes, that is my favorite hashtag is hashtag Vegas knows. When there's always just seems like there's some random play at the end of the game that dictates the winners and losers in Vegas, and it's just it's wild to me how good they are about these lines, where it just always seems like it's coming down to those final 2 minutes, not just winning and losing the game, but just winning and losing the bet. It's just amazing how they nail this stuff, and I'm always fascinated by it. I'm fascinated by line movements and fishy lines and things like that. And, so it's always interesting to me. I really, Vegas is probably my favorite city, certainly one of them. So I get out there, once or twice a year at least, and have some fun with it and stuff like that. But so that's kind of when I get it out. I always joke, I go out to Vegas about twice a year and get it all out of my system. I'm not in here every weekend, grinding my teeth through the 8 o'clock Sunday night NFL game or something like that. But I do enjoy the discussion and just the line movements and things like that. And yeah, so we're going to have fun with this, and hopefully everyone else will too. We got some ideas for this. We're going to kind of let you guys maybe dictate where we go with this and everything, but we do have some interesting ideas, maybe having some of you guys on the podcast. I know we had a gambling thread at Rivals when I was there, and everyone kind of enjoyed that. Maybe have some of you guys on, maybe like a guest picker or something like that we can do. And so we're thinking about some ideas, but this is going to be it for tonight for the first episode. We're gonna get this up quickly just because of the golf stuff in the morning, but we appreciate you tuning in, and looking forward to hearing some feedback. But thanks for joining us.